Keir Starmer is a fan of repetition. Over and over again, we hear that he is a man who leads a changed Labour Party, that he wants to end years of Tory chaos, and, of course, that his dad was a toolmaker. But there's another line Keir Starmer likes to repeat. It's this.
The first thing I do is return politics to service. Service isn't just a word. The most important change, which will happen straight away, is about how we do politics and returning politics to service. Return politics to public service. What we seek, humbly, is the opportunity to change our country and put it back in the service of working people. Politics has to be about service.
So politics has to be about service. It's a smart line, right? When people think about the Tory government we've had, especially for the past 5 years, they think of very self-serving individuals. Obviously, this is sort of most epitomised by Boris Johnson and Partygate, but you can also see it in Rishi Sunak as well, sort of paying to get the electricity sort of upgraded in his constituency purely so he can get a heated swimming pool. These seem like a bunch of people who are out for themselves. You can see why Labour, Keir Starmer, someone who's worked in public service for a very long time, wants to say, I'm a serious guy. I'm not in it for myself. I'm in it for you. So far, so good. It's less clear, though, whether Keir Starmer actually practices what he preaches. This is the headline from the Financial Times. The Labour leader has accepted £76,000 worth of freebies, including tickets to over 20 football games. So we can go through some of these benefits. The biggest benefit or gift he got was £16,200 worth of work clothing from the Labour peer Wahid Ali. He's the former chair of ASOS. Ali also gifted Starmer nearly £2,500 worth of glasses. That's a lot of glasses, or a couple of very expensive pairs of glasses, I suppose. Starmer has also used his position to get lots of free tickets to football. So a variety of donors paid for Starmer to see Arsenal play at least 9 times and to attend the Euro 2021 finals. And he's also gone to concerts at donors' expense. Last year, Starmer accepted 4 hospitality tickets to see Coldplay in Manchester. They were worth a combined £700, plus a £937 hotel stay. Now, that was paid for by the entrepreneur Matthew Moulding. Also on the list of tickets that Starmer has received: to go to Adele, to go to the Commonwealth Games, a Saracens rugby match, 2 tickets for the Wimbledon Royal Box, 4 tickets to see Nye at the Royal Theatre, and a £4,500 getaway on the Gower Peninsula. I think that one was for his whole family. According to the Financial Times, this makes him the biggest receiver of donations for sort of entertainment purposes. So there were people in Parliament who've received larger donations in kind. In fact, Jeremy Corbyn received £600,000, but that was to pay for legal costs. I think vis-a-vis journalists or the Labour Party itself, I can't quite remember precisely what that was for. But when it comes to sort of taking tickets for going out and having a good time, there is no one who accepts more gifts than Keir Starmer. And this is especially the case when you compare him to his predecessors. So in his entire time as Labour leader, Corbyn only accepted one gift. It was worth £476, or one benefit worth £476. Now, that was a ticket to Glastonbury where, as I'm sure you'll remember, he was speaking on the pyramid stage, right? So it wasn't just to have a good time. He was there to do a bit of work. Ed Miliband, for his part, only received a few tickets to the London Olympic and Paralympic Games. He said there was no face value on them. So he accepted those tickets. Of course, I do think, in certain situations, if you want to be the next Prime Minister, you want to be pictured, right, at the Euro 2021 final, because it makes you seem like you're sort of part of the culture. You could clearly reimburse the money for those tickets, though, especially if you're a relatively wealthy person. And, you can't make the same argument about going to see Coldplay. Keir Starmer has defended all of this. He says, nothing to see here. He says, everybody can see who donated, what it was for, and how much it is, so you can ensure there's no conflict of interest, as I would ensure there's no conflict of interest. Aaron, what do you make of this? There was a similar story actually in Open Democracy, which we covered about a year ago. Just some updates here from the Financial Times. But it does seem odd, doesn't it, that, Keir Starmer, presumably a relatively wealthy man, he's had very well-paid jobs his entire career. He's now also got a very well-paid job. You get paid very well as the leader of the opposition. It's seen as quite normal for sort of politicians to accept gifts for international travel if they need to sort of go meet different people, go to conferences. But to be accepting so many gifts to just have a good night out, albeit with his family or whoever, I don't know, it does seem, if you want to put yourself forward as Mr. Squeaky Clean, why can't you just pay for your own tickets to go to Coldplay?
Because the truth is whatever Keir Starmer says, Michael. I love that response he had, which is, well, obviously there's no conflict of interest. If there was, I wouldn't have done it. I mean, is that how it works? That the conflict of interest only exists if Keir Starmer concedes there's a conflict of interest. The tickets bought for him by Matthew Moulding, who, by the way, backed the Conservative Party in 2015. These people don't give things away for nothing. He has a business worth hundreds of millions, I think more than £1 billion. They are not giving those tickets away for nothing. Okay, you don't get something for nothing. I mean, again, that is something that a semi-literate Iranian goat herder understands, Michael. But for some reason, much of the political and media class, moreover the media class, I know this is reported in the FT, but many people have no problem with this. Keir Starmer has no problem with it. They think this is totally fine, And we keep on hearing from Keir Starmer, there's no magic money tree. We can't just do free stuff, I'm afraid. But when it comes to BlackRock saying that they'll help build infrastructure projects, there's free money. He's found the magic money tree. It's investment funds, asset managers, and it's not free, of course. It's PFI Mark II. And then in his own personal life, again, there's free money. It just keeps on turning up. What can I do? Why are they giving these things to you, Keir? It's because they're trying to build a relationship with you, which will be useful to them. Now, it's not illegal. It's very normal. Not this normal, not this many free tickets and things to go to, but it's normal. But the point is, if you're trying to pose yourself as this, like you say, squeaky clean political figure who cannot be bought, it seems rather unwise. Ed Miliband didn't take anything. There was just the Olympics tickets. So the idea that this is normal for a Labour leader to be taking this volume of free stuff is simply not the case. And as you've said, he is a wealthy man. He's a wealthy person. He was a very wealthy person. He was a very successful lawyer for a very long time. He was doing stuff with Carter Ruck, I believe, Michael. He was working as a lawyer. He had a second job. It was very few hours, but very well paid, so lots of money, whilst also being an MP. That's another thing he now rails against. He did it himself. So it's one to keep an eye on. Fantastic that the FT are reporting on it. Of course, on this kind of stuff, just with like the second jobs, just like with being landlords, the Tories are generally much worse. But by Labour standards, Michael, Keir Starmer is pretty bad. And I do think this kind of story gives an insight into how he may govern. The fact that his answer is there's no conflict of interest because you can see and it's transparent, and I say there's no conflict of interest. Well, I find that rather strange. A high net worth individual who's previously backed the Tories, who clearly wants to influence public policy in this country, I don't think a Labour leader should be taking money from them. People say that Keir Starmer, how could he be a Labour leader? He's a sir. How could he be a Labour leader? He's this, he's that. And people have a wide range of opinions on that, don't they? Some people agree, some people disagree. Some people say, well, it's good to have the establishment credentials. It gives you the permission to be more radical. Not that he's used it, but that's an argument you heard in 2020. I mean, that's a coherent argument, right? What's the argument for taking tens of thousands of pounds worth of freebies? What's the political upside here? I don't think there is one. I just think he likes the free stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's no argument other than he likes the free stuff. And I suppose it does hark back to sort of what was sometimes said about Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak as well. Rishi Sunak's wife being a non-dom. Rishi Sunak will say, well, no rules were broken. There's nothing wrong with this. And people say, but is it really appropriate for the Prime Minister to have a wife who doesn't pay tax? And it's the same here. Keir Starmer's sort of explanation is basically, well, I haven't broken any rules. He hasn't broken any rules. If it's expressed publicly, then it's perfectly legal for a politician to accept all of these gifts. But it does, I can just really imagine sort of Keir Starmer being at Prime Minister's questions, as leader of the opposition and having a real go at Rishi Sunak for accepting a bunch of tickets to go see stuff from donors, right? It seems like the kind of politics he would attack yet he's very comfortable doing it himself. And potentially this is another one of those things where people are very easy on the Labour Party at the moment because the Tories are the ones that sort of the media have decided they're going to scrutinise at the moment because they're on the way out, Labour are on the way in, so they're going soft on Labour, they're going hard on the Conservatives. But we've talked many times about how Keir Starmer's sort of comfortableness or his comfort with telling lies could end up being the end of him, sort of when the media turn. I think his comfortableness with accepting benefits could also be sort of, it's one of the candidates for a potential Keir Starmer undoing, I think. Aaron Bastani, we'll wrap up there. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
My pleasure, Michael. I was going to dig out the numbers for Keir Starmer's chauffeur-driven car while Director of Public Prosecutions, but it is more than £100,000. He loves his free stuff. And yet he'll be rallying against people on various benefits and how they should get back into work. How about you stop taking the freebies and then maybe they'll listen?